Hello, I'm Michael Crome, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the 70th Annual Sun Youth Forum panel discussion. I'm excited to be here and to be joined by some amazing local student leaders of the next generation. You'll meet them in a minute. In 1956, Las Vegas Sun founder Hank Greenspun and pioneering journalist Ruthie Deskin believed that young people had something important to say. Their idea was to provide a forum where students could come together and see different perspectives on a variety of issues. Southern Nevada high school students continue that tradition today. Participants are assigned to groups where they discuss topics ranging from dress code in schools, global health care, global hunger, and more. Finalists are selected to summarize the conclusions of their group in a public forum. I'm pleased to be joined by 6 of those finalists here today. Let's meet them. Would you please introduce yourself? Tell us the school that you attend and what your topic is going to be for today. And tell me your favorite pig out food when you're just kind of hanging out at home.
I'm Carmen. I go to Veterans Tribute CTA, and I'm representing this and that room. My favorite pig out food would probably be barbecue food, like American barbecue.
That's a good selection. I like that. I like that.
Hi, my name is Ava. I go to CSN High School. I go to the North Las Vegas campus. And my favorite pig out food is actually barbecue, but if I'm just at home, probably like cereal.
I like cereal. What type of cereal? Gotta be more specific.
It could be anything. Honestly, my favorite is Honey Bunches of Oats.
All right. I love it. I love it.
Hi there, my name is Chris. I am a senior at Spring Valley High School, and my favorite pig out food would probably be carne asada fries.
What's your topic?
My topic is America.
America. Got it. Got it. Did you do your topic?
Oh, no, I didn't.
I'm sorry.
I had teen topics.
Teen topics. Okay.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Zena. I'm a senior. I go to Las Vegas High School, and my favorite pig out food would have to be soul food, for sure.
Okay, and what's your topic?
And my topic is home in Nevada.
Home in Nevada. Great.
Hi, my name is Janelle. I'm a senior at Southwest Korean Technical Academy. My topic is law and crime, and my favorite pig out food has to be pizza rolls.
Pizza rolls.
Yeah, I've been eating them a lot lately.
Why lately?
I don't even know, it just sounds good.
Right, I love it. Love it.
My name is Catrice White Hicks. I attend College of Southern Nevada East campus. My topic was around the world, and my favorite pig out food, if I'm at home, don't at me, but I really like boiled eggs.
Boiled eggs?
I really like boiled eggs.
Nothing wrong with that. All right, I like it. Well, we have a lot of topics to discuss today, but before we get started, let's look at this year's Sun Youth Forum.
High school students from across Southern Nevada recently gathered at Cimarron Memorial High School for the 70th Annual Sun Youth Forum. This unique event gives students the opportunity to share their thoughts on a variety of current events and social topics that are important to them.
I think that a lot of people have given the chance kind of stray away from it because they're scared, but I think that if you come in with an open mind and you have something to say, you should say it and get your voice out there. Even if you're shy or you think that it doesn't matter, it does.
The program, created by Las Vegas Sun founder Hank Greenspun, continues through his son Brian.
The inspiration was my father, Hank Greenspun, and his assistant, Ruth Deskin, who understood that the young people in the community had a lot of ideas and a lot of concerns and no one to listen to them. So the inspiration was we need to find a place where young people can come together, reach some consensus on what was important to them at the time, and then make sure the adults in the community, the ones who are responsible for making things happen, listen to them.
The Sun Youth Forum is designed to give students a place to speak and an opportunity for community leaders to listen and learn.
As a moderator, you're learning. The young people are also teaching you, and it's fine-tuning your perspective as an adult. And most of these students feel like we have the power, we have all the power, we have the voice. And it's such a good reminder to turn the mirror on them and to remind them, you have the power, you have the voice.
Several teachers and moderators were once students participating in the program. Even though the roles have changed, they keep coming back year after year to help out.
If you come and you just sit in a couple of these rooms, you will have hope in the next generations and the future generations. It gets them talking. I get to hear their thoughts. They're so intelligent, they're so fun, witty, thoughtful, and it's also really important to me because I feel like it helps them feel like their voices are heard, since they are the future, the next generation that all these policies are going to be impacting, and they're either of age to vote or will be able to vote very soon on, you know, the things that they're just talking about today.
Whether sharing an opinion or leaving with a new one, this program provides students with a lasting impact and a newfound worldview.
Unity is a big thing. Like, there's nothing more than that. Like, we can do it alone, but it's better to have somebody with you.
By listening, sharing, and connecting with one another, the Sun Youth Forum continues to mold the leaders of tomorrow.
You come away with a feeling like whatever's going on, whatever craziness there's going on in our city, our state, and our nation, and our world, it's going to be in really good hands, because these are the kind of people who are going to go out and lead tomorrow. So you come away with a feeling like, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to be okay. And that makes us feel really good about tomorrow.
It looks like an amazing event and some great conversations. We're now going to give you an opportunity to share some of the discussions from each of your groups. So let's get started. Carmen, I think your topic was this and that. So tell us, a little bit about the topic. What does this and that mean? What were the one or two issues that came up around it, and what was the discussion like in the group that you were in class?
This and that seemed to be like kind of a mix of what all the other rooms were. Two of the main points that mostly took up a large amount of our time and that we kept coming back to was the consequences of long-term use of AI on like our mental health and also like our mental capacity and being. And then also the noticeable decline in school attendance for high schoolers and what could probably bring that, what are factors, and is there any way that we could solve it?
Okay. And so tell us a little bit more about I want to hear more about the AI piece and like kind of how what that discussion is. It's always the buzzword now.
Yeah.
Everybody uses it.
Yes. And that's the thing that we talked about is how persistent it is currently. It's made its way into the classroom. I mean, schools adopted the cell phone policy in pouches because of AI use in the classroom. Teachers, I think we can all agree, are seeing a definite rise in students relying on it, and that's the problem, is that AI was developed to be a tool to help us, and we definitely see, or I know I certainly see people and students taking advantage of it. And something that I brought up in my room was our brain's a muscle, and if you don't work out, if you don't have those connections going and you're not thinking for yourself, are we going to see a steady cognitive decline in these future generations that are definitely relying on AI? Is there going to be a new form of Alzheimer's or a certain branch of it? Obviously, we don't know yet because we're the generation affected by it and the generations after. But I think it's definitely a real concern and something that we need to talk more about. And some kids talked about teachers implementing lesson plans on how to use AI properly in the classroom. Personally, I was against that. I don't think AI should be in the classroom. I think we come to school to learn and gain experiences. We have in-person teachers for a reason. And that's another concern is, could AI take over teachers' jobs? And will private schools be the only ones to afford in-person teachers and public schools rely on AI? It brings up so many conflicts.
No, it's good. So with the group, was there a consensus at the end of everybody figured out how to fix it, and that's what we're going to do now?
Unfortunately, we really couldn't come up with a solution, but I think all of us were just able to recognize the problems. Obviously, in school, students not being able to think for themselves, but we also related it to the workplace and how it's going to affect people's jobs, their income. Obviously, there could be some benefits of AI, like analysis, but again, that's also a form of job that can be taken from, and someone can lose out on it. And so all of us were kind of in agreement, and I think I was probably leading the room on the anti-AI propaganda.
So when you say anti, now I want to know what you personally think about it. So when you say anti-AI, what does that mean? No use of it at all? I mean, I'm sure all of you have used it in some way, shape, or form. So what does that mean?
I think I'm anti-AI as in students just overly relying on it. I mean, I've seen so many students at my school, and I know at other schools, I'm sure that, the simplest question they just Google. A girl brought up in our room how, concerning politics and how she was researching candidates via AI and saying, like, what should I think? And at that point, if you're not thinking for yourself and you're relying on AI, it's not artificial intelligence, you're just being artificially intelligent. And it's kind of, it just doesn't make sense. And I think that our over-reliance on it is something that we really need to steer away from, because I think once we hit a certain threshold, there's no turning back.
No, that's right. What did you all think about that?
I would just like to add, I love that topic so much on the AI, because I think even with, for example, Google search and search engines, that although it's free in quotation, that there's always an exchange that is being made, whether we notice it now or later. And I think with the rise of AI and it being so-called free, where we're given all these tools or resources, with the rise of search engines, with the rise of Google, with the rise of AI, it makes us more reliant on it. And so what's the point of learning when I can just look up the answer? What's the point of thinking when I can just AI it? And I think that's the price that we are paying for these resources, is that we are affecting ourselves and, like you said, our mental capacity, and how much we are learning, how much we are thinking, and how much we can grow on our own without machines.
No, that's right. Yeah, please.
I would also like to touch on that. I think not only are we declining mentally and like intellectually, but also environment-wise, I'm very strongly anti-AI for the environment. I know recently I saw on the news that this woman, she lives right next to a Meta AI kind of cooling center, right? They put it right next to her house.
One of the data centers?
Yes, one of the data centers, because data centers use water to cool the AI, and that we are already losing, like, environmentally, with global warming and things like that. We're already in a drought. We live in Nevada, we're already in a drought. Imagine what these people, like, across the country are experiencing. And this woman who is living next to a data center, her water pressure in her home, her water's brown. It's like so yucky, and it's honestly genuinely a price she had to pay for no reason, just so that you can simply Google your homework, like AI your homework assignment. I think that's incredibly unfair, and therefore we should never do anything like that.
Got it, yeah.
When you mentioned about when the girl asked AI, what should I think that's honestly a very scary thing that is starting to happen. The mind is honestly the greatest and most powerful weapon that you can have for yourself. And once you start asking others, what should I think, you become less of an individual, and soon everyone will have the same opinions. And what makes, the world so great and so powerful is that people have different opinions. People should be able to come together and, have different opinions, much like the Sun Youth Forum, to where there's an actual productive discussion. If everything's the same, the Sun Youth Forum would have probably been over in like 20 minutes.
Right. Chris, what did you think?
When it comes to AI in schools, I am definitely anti-AI. Like Carmen was saying, it's a place where you're free to make mistakes, but also have an opportunity to learn. When AI takes a step into that boundary, now you're stepping into a zone where learning is not taking place. Rather, someone else is creating those answers for you, and there's no place of free thinking. I am pro-AI when it comes to technological advancements, especially when it comes to like innovations that can definitely help our like healthcare spaces, our farming industry. There's been proven benefits to that, but there definitely needs to be a limitation to what we can use AI for. Like, for example, we look at like AI art like nowadays, and it's taking away jobs from artists who truly just have a passion for their work, and now it's taking away all their passion, all their creativity, just for a mere robotic code. And I think when it comes to AI, there has to be heavy regulations to it, because without the control of it, then it creates even more consequences upon society.
Very good, very good. We got a few more seconds. Carmen, would you wrap it up and say anything else about the discussion around AI?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that we all said, but something that also came up, and it relates back to if we can't think for ourselves, is we saw a study in my sociology class about $191 million going into funding and training Gemini AI. And I think that just kind of raises the question, well, who funds that? And then along with that funding, is there a possibility that it could also go into like promoting and prompting the AI to push out ideas that maybe fit a certain donation or donator's agenda? And I think that that's also a pretty big concern that we really should bring more attention to.
It's a really big topic, and love to unpack it some more, because I've got lots of questions, but I wanted to hear from you all. So yeah, thanks for your input on that. Chris, I'm going to turn to you. I think your topic was America, right? Yes. So tell us a little bit about your topic, maybe one or two issues that came up around America and what the discussion looked like in your group.
So under my room, we discussed a lot about the topic of America, ranging from political polarization to the tax bracket system to including, the usage of nuclear energy as a viable source of renewable energy. So the two main topics that hit my room were how does immigration affect the schooling of children, and overall what can be used as a renewable resource for a sustainable future, which we mainly cover nuclear energy. Between those two topics, it was a lot of nuances when it comes to what we discussed when it came to the nuclear energy debate. We were discussing all the viable uses of nuclear energy, but we were also discussing all the consequences that come from it, from dumping, from who is funding these endeavors, to nuclear proliferation, but also the positives of it, how it's one of the more reliable renewable energy resources, and how can we accommodate that, and how can we hold these systems accountable. And then when it came to immigration and the topic of education, we talked about keeping ICE out of schools and how it's affecting current community colleges, such as Truckee Community College right now. And overall, those were the two main issues that we talked about in our room.
Okay. We'll dig down a little bit deeper on the immigration issue and talk about, there's pretty polarizing views on that topic, for sure. So was there a consensus in the room? Did everyone kind of feel they were all on the same page, or was there some dissenting, opinions on that issue in the room?
As students, we had a general consensus that there shouldn't be a threat upon our education. Looking at the values of the United States of America, we see how it's our duty to uphold those values of making sure and ensuring that every student has their right to education. And we believe keeping ICE in government facilities such as healthcare, such as the judicial system, where immigrants are reporting crimes against them, or including schooling, that it's non-viable, it's unethical upon the United States values, because we view education as not a privilege, a right to an opportunity to learn. And by keeping ICE in schools, it prevents that. There's a lot of stigma where we were discussing how people are afraid of, going inside school and being forced to present identification that they may not have at the moment or may not have on their person at the time, and be worried about being deported, being sent to a detainment camp. And it affects their mindset of going to school, where they don't even have the security of going to school and have that fear of going to school, where they don't even have the education they have no more.
That's great. That's great. All right, so I want somebody to play devil's advocate. Tell me the other side. Why would somebody disagree with kind of that point of view? Who can take that side for me, even if it's not what you agree on? Why do people feel that way? Why is there two camps in this? Why is there an opposite side?
I mean, I feel like it's just very blatant racism, to where white people don't want to afford the same opportunities to people that come here illegally, or generally they just don't think anyone different from them deserves to have the same benefits. I don't agree with that, but I just think it's just racism and just wanting to have the upper hand and having the ability to oppress a different group of people.
Okay. What do you all think about the topic? Any thoughts on it? You don't have to take the dissenting view, but what do you all think about this topic? It's a hot button right now.
Yeah, I do think that it is taking away from all the things like you were saying. We shouldn't be focused on being so scared to go to school. We're not even getting our education anymore. We should be focused on how can we help them with this? What can we do to make it easier and make sure they're more focused on education, rather than just, I can't even go to school anymore and they're not getting their education.
Is this something that comes up in school on a daily?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
What are you hearing in school?
I've heard, there was a specific time that I recall where a lot of group chats were going off, and they were ICE is down the street. And my school is the Hispanic population is extremely, extremely high. And so it hurts me that there were students worried about being ripped away from their homes while they are trying to get an education, while they're trying to learn, while they're trying to better themselves. I just don't think that's right.
I definitely agree. I see that all over Instagram or TikTok, where people will screenshot and repost stories oh, ICE is at this location. If you're going to school, take a different route. I just think it's incredibly dangerous, and it goes against everything that America stands for. People come to our country for salvation, to have a new chance. And now we have people wanting to leave. Even our own citizens are like, well, maybe I should move to Canada, or I should go to Germany or some other place. And I just think it's really detrimental to, like, honestly, our image. We're supposed to uplift others and give people salvation and give them new opportunities, and we shouldn't be taking them away or making our own people feel fearful to go outside, even if they are a citizen of this country. Minorities are still at risk of being detained.
Yeah. Patrice, Carmen,
I just think it all boils down to historical violence. I know that a lot of the tactics used with ICE have been used historically against, like, Black people after the reinstatement after slavery. And so because of this, it's just really disheartening to see that we're going back to the values that we try so hard to, like, bury and, like, not really return back to. I think we're kind of losing our value that we established within our Constitution. And because of that, like Ava said, we're losing like our grip of, like, power. I think, like, a lot of these countries are looking at us and they're like, man, the U.S. isn't as good as they say it is anymore. You know, we used to be, like, people used to dream about coming here, and now people dream about leaving. And I think that really goes to show how much we've declined in our socioeconomic state of country. Yeah.
Chris, why don't you wrap it up? Any final comments on this one?
When it comes to, like, the topic of ICE in schools, there has been progress made towards it. I mean, we discussed within our room AB 217, which was a bill to keep ICE out of schools that was in the state legislature. It passed both houses, but it got vetoed by Governor Lombardo. And it kind of shows how we all have a general consensus, like, we're all in this room and we're all sharing the same point of view. In my room, we were all sharing the same point of view, but there's people who are creating these barriers for people for just simply trying to get their education, just simply trying to find an opportunity in America. And I think to solve this issue, we have to look within the system and find how we can reform it to ensure it's better for all.
I love it. Well, thank you. It's a robust discussion, and again, another one I would love to spend a lot of time talking about, but I'm encouraged hearing you all talk about it and hearing that it's an issue that, you know, you're willing to speak up and speak your voice about. So I think I know where everyone stands on that issue, but yeah, thanks for doing that. Catrice, I'm going to turn to you. I think your topic was around the world. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. All right, so tell us about around the world. That's a very broad topic. What did you talk about in that? What were a couple issues you talked about in there, and just kind of unpack it for us a little bit.
So within my room, I know one of the issues that, honestly, the, like, main issue we kept circling back to, kind of that was, like, the underlying nucleus of the discussion was just, like, capitalism. We discussed a lot about world healthcare. Why are people still being, like, incredibly sick? I know we discussed the Ebola scares happening in Angola. I know we discussed the genocides happening in Palestine, Sudan, and the Congo. And all of that, we were thinking, why are these things happening so often and things not getting coverage like that? And it all kind of circled back to just capitalism. All these countries that are all these third world countries that are being targeted, they're rich in, like, minerals, like, the Congo has cobalt, Palestine has oil, Sudan has gold. So we're kind of all of us came to just the general consensus that at the end of the day, global superpowers are kind of using all their power. They're getting all their power from these smaller countries, and through that, we're living our quality of life, sure, but at the hands of so many others suffering.
And so how did you feel to solve for it?
Genuinely, the solution was just to be the underdog. I genuinely think that collective power can stop any large-scale, like, threat. I truly do believe that coming together is a solution to anything. I mean, all these global superpowers, how did they get to where they are? They came together to kind of pick on the little ones. So I feel like if all the little countries band together, because I know there was another discussion within our group where it's like, how can these little countries fight back if, like, you know, America has such a large-scale kind of weaponry? How can they fight back when there's just so much going on? And so I was thinking, if all the smaller countries band together, then, well, it kind of just counteracts whatever these larger countries are going to do, because, yes, they are larger, but they are one man in the face of, 206 countries? So if like 100 of those band together, there's nothing they can't do to stop one.
So how do you band them together? You all can talk about it, but how do you, if that's the solution, how do you get 100 different countries, let's just say, with 100 different leaders to all kind of march in the same tune in order to, you know, defeat this larger issue? How do you do that?
I feel, I feel like it's just like collective agreement in defeating for the greater good. I mean, you see that this is happening to this smaller country, and you're not that much bigger than that smaller country. Who's to say it can't happen to you? So I feel like in the just decision of like banding together, it's so much easier to fight for a greater consensus just to like, even if you're not in the line of fire, it's better to take action before you are, for the sake of your citizens. And so I feel like that should be reason enough for any country to step forward, purely because people are always people, and everyone deserves to live regardless.
Yes.
She said everything perfectly. I think another way, like a powerful tool that happened during my discussion, is social media. If we can get more people aware of what is happening outside of their own countries, the more abundant they would want to band together. If they see that everyone else, hey, like there's people rooting for us, there's people who want to see us succeed, maybe we should, as a collective, stand up against this power.
I think it's just very difficult for multiple countries to band together because of these major countries exerting their influence upon these smaller nations. Like you look at what China's doing right now with their Belt and Road Initiative and trying to spread their initiative and their influence across Africa. And you see what the United States is doing right now throughout Western Europe and Eastern Europe about them funding different endeavors, especially the Ukraine-Russian war, just to expand their influence. And you see that it's these larger nations just trying to defeat the other largest nations and creating almost like a proxy war in a way, or like proxy influences where they're trying to divide these countries together just so they can maintain their hegemonic control. And it's why it's so difficult and why we have so much international divisiveness today, because of these larger nations. So I think to rectify the issue or to resolve it, we have to take a step back and keep our own governments accountable. What our own governments are doing to fund these genocides, to fund these wars worldwide, and how we can reform the system to make sure that we're actually supporting issues of, like, you know, fixing poverty across the world, you know, making sure that people have equal access to healthcare, education, despite their sexuality, despite their gender, despite, you know, everything about their personal identity. And we just have to ensure that our money is being spent properly for the right reasons.
Yeah, when you were talking, I was thinking about consensus of countries. That's kind of what the United Nations is supposed to be for, right? So do we not think they're doing a good job, or how does that play into this discussion?
If I can answer that, I actually think the United Nations is doing everything they need to do. I know that I like to watch a lot of their just discussions between each other and like the things that they vote on. And one thing I noticed a lot is that a lot of these global powers, these bigger countries, kind of use their power of vetoing to just diminish the entire issue and just, you know, push it under the rug. So I feel like with that, the reason we are still in the state we are in is because these larger global powers have so much power that they can override whatever is the consensus among all the smaller countries, which again is why I feel like they should all band together against that one.
Okay, very good. You're shaking your head a lot.
I think everyone was just wording everything really well. I definitely see like both points of view on everything. I think you guys did really good wording and everything, so I was agreeing almost.
Oh, okay. All right, very good. We'll move on to the next topic. Zena, you had home in Nevada. I'm assuming that meant something about the great state of Nevada. But why don't you tell us a little bit about that topic, a couple of issues that came up on your topic, and let's discuss.
Okay, so primarily we stuck to around the same like 3 or 4 questions that we kind of just bounced back because a lot of them are relatively connected. So a few that came up, the first one was, does CCSD dress code does it reinforce gender inequality? That was one that we talked about. And what could the superintendent of CCSD do to better the school system? And then another thing we talked about was what are resources that we can use to help our homeless population?
Okay, those are big.
Yeah.
So let's unpack one of those. Let's talk about the homeless population. Again, another big topic. Talk about a little bit more about the discussion around that.
Yeah, so about the homeless population, we first, we like discussed like different types of like how it gets to that point. And that's how we kind of kept coming back to, well, the education system and back to CCSD because they're all intertwined in a way. But one of our main solutions was just doing our best to cater to those who no longer have homes. I brought up a personal story where, because at my job where I work, we have discounts. We have discounts for police officers and we have discounts for firefighters. And like often, super often, I always get like somebody asking, oh, like, do you have the veteran discount? And I was like, it's very strange that we don't. And that was another thing we talked about with how there are a lot of homeless veterans and how some of our veterans may feel like we don't take care of them as much as we used to, or that we don't hold them to as a regard like we used to. But back to the overall topic, we talked about like well, first, addressing the issue and acknowledging that they exist, because at the end of the day, these are people. And I think for a lot of people, it's easier to just ignore it in a way. But it's something that affects us all because they are Nevada residents as well. They are Las Vegans as well. And so I proposed more like cooling stations or being able to just have more opportunities for shelter and resources and water. And that led us back to the conversation of like, education-wise, because, for example, my school in particular, we do have a population of like homeless students, but we also have programs in place like CIS, which gives out like, you can go into their room and you can ask for any sort of resources. They can give you food, they can give you like hygiene products, or like Project 150, which is another program that allows others to receive resources that they may need. Yeah.
So Carmen, this is an issue that continues to plague our state, I guess I'll say, and specifically our local economy. What do you think about the topic, and how do we solve it? We're going to fix it here, you all. We'll fix it right now.
I do agree with everything that was said, and I think, it's quite obvious, and I think it looks us in the face that, Las Vegas does have a serious homeless population issue. And I do agree with what you said about the veterans, and now I think I believe I'm correct that a large percentage of the homeless population are veterans, and it touches my heart because, my school's name is Veterans Tribute. We have an RTC program. We constantly work with veterans. We do a whole Veterans Day assembly. I have an uncle who served, and I think that I completely agree about addressing it is certainly the first step, because people definitely tend to ignore things or refuse to acknowledge them until it actively affects them or it happens to them or someone they knew. But these are veterans who served our country. Even if they weren't veterans and they're homeless, like these are active citizens of the United States, like they're still people and they still deserve resources, help, and an opportunity. I know my school tries to do as many like fundraisers as we can to like stock up on socks, food storage, other supplies. I think it's really cool how we do kind of like a clothes drive, even for like prom dresses and suits, so they're not excluded from certain events. And going about solving it, I really just think that the first step is just acknowledging it, like actively as a community. Whether you agree or not, or acknowledge it or not, like it's going to affect us all at some point. The issue of homeless.
So do you think we've acknowledged it and just not enough people have acknowledged it, or? I
think it's easy to say like, yes, I acknowledge the issue, but I guess after that, it's what's the next step? I think we talk about, we have to acknowledge this, we have to acknowledge this, but after that, it's okay, what do I need to do? How can I help? How can I contribute? And so I think almost every school probably does drives like that. But I also think a lot of what I hear is that some homeless people don't like to go to shelters because of how unsafe they are. And they have a chance of being robbed or assaulted. And so I think we should also ensure that we're making these areas that we're designating to them to support them are actively working to support them. And it's not just, okay, we can check off this box that we did this humanitarian thing. No, let's ensure that we're following through on that and providing the support that we should provide.
Yeah. So we've acknowledged it here. So let's talk about solutions around that thing.
I definitely agree where people be like, oh, I acknowledge the issue, but then they don't take the initiative to take the extra step. You should be donating clothes. You should be giving food where you can. And I think it is very important that the homeless shelters are actually safe and that they're clean, because what is the benefit if it's just as bad as being out on the street?
I think it's also acknowledging that we have a housing crisis within Nevada. And there's this notion that, you know, it's because we're an ever-growing population and we're not building enough houses to you know, accommodate who is coming to Las Vegas. But in true reality, it's mainly corporations that buy real estate that sell these houses to make sure that they make a profit. And in turn, it's creating this housing crisis where housing prices are skyrocketing, and it's creating these homeless issues where now our homeless have to live underground in the tunnels, where when it rains, it floods heavily because we don't have a great system in Las Vegas. And now we have homeless people dying because of the greed of corporations. So I think also acknowledging issues of that sense and realizing that the housing crisis contributes to the deaths of homeless people is how we can solve this issue, by keeping these corporations accountable for creating this issue themselves.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I also think people tend to believe like, oh, they're homeless, like as if they couldn't be put in that situation, or like, oh, these are my clothes, like I could just throw it away then. They don't realize like how much it really is a problem, and that they truly do need some of those things, and they shouldn't have to live on the streets where it's raining, like possible floods, like all of this stuff. I think there should be more resources in shelters, for shelters, making sure it's safe there, giving them resources that way they could go out to find a job, show them how to do it with what they do have.
Yeah. You want to wrap us up on this one?
Yes, so I think that those were all great answers. Another thing I just wanted to add was with like prevention, specifically regarding like our homeless students and stuff. I think we talked about it with like the superintendent question, that it's very important that we are educating our younger generations on financial literacy and on career paths and on job opportunities. Currently, like my school, we're doing like capstone every couple weeks, which is where we do an assignment based on what we want to do after college or during college, where we're researching scholarships or job opportunities. And I think it's important that we're pushing those out to the youth, and so that they know that they have these resources and that there's never just a straight path within like getting out of high school. And it's important that they understand that there are all kinds of jobs, all kinds of careers, and that they don't have to turn to certain things to live and to make a profit.
It's really good. It's really good. Well, thank you. Thank you for the discussion. Janelle, you had law and crime. Again, another very broad topic. So give me one or two things that came up on that topic that we can discuss, and tell me what the room discussion was about that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was passionate.
It was very passionate. Definitely one of our biggest ones was, at what point should you be trialed as an adult instead of a juvenile? It became very sensitive, but we all had a very good discussion about that one. And then another one was, what should the limits be kind of like on, or should we ban books based on like certain things they talk about?
Okay. Let's talk about the book ban thing.
The book one? Okay, so for the books, we start off with like a story. Was one of them like a little girl found a really inappropriate book in a school because they didn't fully read through it, and it like kind of spread around the school and stuff, and they're like, well, why does my elementary school kid like know this? Like, this isn't okay, I don't let her read this. We all agreed that, well, maybe they should have like ratings and warnings on books, because they brought up some very good points that it would violate our First Amendment if we just said you cannot write this, because that takes away your freedom of speech. We said that we should put some warnings on it, make sure everyone knows what they're reading. If age limits, kind of like on movies, it has like rated R for 13 plus, making sure that they know that you should be around this age to be reading this, make sure it's okay, so you know what you're doing in school. Should keep like looking like, hey, make sure this is good for an elementary kid, middle school, or high school kid.
So everyone was okay with putting ratings on the books, or some people saying let's just ban certain books because of the topics?
It was a little bit of both. We mainly all came together at put ratings on the books, but for some of them, it was like for extremely explicit smut books, like they should not be out there, or like ones that are very, like picture books, they like with murder and stuff, like it shouldn't be like so bad to where you're getting traumatized from it, for instance. And a lot of us, I had brought that part up, like you shouldn't be traumatized from a book. And a lot of people agree with me, but another person brought up that, well, you should also have the right to read that if you want to, which I completely agree with. You should have the right, which is why we came up with the warnings. Another one was saying that there was a book that was written about a bunch of murders and stuff, and it turns out that guy really was a serial killer, talking about everyone that he killed and how a lot of people got traumatized from that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. What do you all think? Like, who's the ultimate governing body? Who gets to decide, you know, which books get the warning, what the warnings are on the books, and if certain books are banned? What do you all think about? Should, as a youth, you be able to talk about any topic of conversation, read any topic of conversation, Carmen?
I think it's interesting that that was a topic brought up because like a week or two ago was Banned Books Week. So for my dual enrollment class, we talked about banned books, the importance behind them. Do they have any literary merit? So we all had to do a deep dive, excuse me. And we all actually, as a class, did come to the same consensus that like age ratings and like trigger warnings do make sense. We're actually reading a banned book in my class currently called The Kite Runner. And before we read it, my teacher sent out an email to parents saying like, hey, this is the book we're reading, this is the type of content in it. If you don't want your child reading that, let me know and I'll have an alternative assignment. But another important thing about banned books is that's the number one question is who gets to decide what to ban. A lot of the banned books we see are books about people of color, gender, race, age even, and books offer so much insight into other people's lives and different perspectives, and that's so important, especially for youth in gaining like a critical, deep understanding of the world we're in. I read a book called I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and it's a beautiful book, and again, it's on the banned books list. And when I heard that, I was so like shocked by that, and I could see why. Like, it mentioned sexual assault on a minor, but the message behind it about you're bigger than your trauma, you can overcome it, life can be beautiful. I think most banned books, if not all, have a deeper message behind them, and that's something that a youth or any reader can learn from.
Sharice, what do you think?
Mainly when I was thinking about like her discussion with the banning books and like the graphic portrayal, my mind immediately went to the video games. I feel like, yeah, words can hold like graphic depictions, but I feel like that is mainly mental. Now, when it comes to comics, that's different, but like novels, right? Those are mainly mental depictions. But if we're talking video games, that is actually right in front of your face, and you're buying it for like, what, $6.99, and it's available to everybody. And there are so many easy ways to bypass such, like, say like GTA, right? A lot of these kids have GTA, even if they need parental permission.
Grand Theft Auto.
Yes. Grand Theft Auto. Even if they need parental permission, the amount of ways they've bypassed these things is absurd. So I feel like if we're discussing banning books, then banning video games needs to be at the center of that conversation. I personally think video games are worse with their depictions, and especially since it's centered around a male community, I feel like there's a lot of potential for threat when it comes to those depictions.
So we think the visual is even more threatening than just reading it in words.
Sorry.
Is that?
Yeah, it's basically what we came to. We're like, for instance, like some of the Harry Potter books got banned from certain places because it's about witchcraft. Well, then you also have to go back, are you going to ban the Harry Potter movies? Right. Any video games about it? We were saying, like, if you're going to ban the book, you have to be able to ban the visuals for it. So the movies and the games and stuff, I completely agree. It's mainly about the visuals because now you're seeing what it is instead of just imagining it.
Okay. Well, yeah, we could unpack the other part of the conversation as well, but thank you. Thank you. And I guess we'll end with you, Ava. You had teen topics.
I did.
So being a teen in the room, I'm sure it was a robust discussion, and a lot of people had. So tell us about a couple of topics in there, and let's unpack one of them.
We pretty much bounced around each of the questions they had for us, but really the general discussion was, does social media have a general net positive or, net negative? What we pretty much came to the conclusion is it's a double-edged sword. It can be used for great things and it can be used for bad things. I personally think, life is what you make of it. Social media can be what you make of it. If you, try to make a positive space for yourself online or for others online, that's beautiful. But it also can be bad where people will make spaces online to be purposefully negative. There's a bunch of things that got brought up with, honestly, almost every topic here, we did talk about, war, apathy, desensitization, banning things or promoting things. It's just a really diverse topic. One thing that we did talk about for almost a great chunk of the time was AI usage and how dangerous that can be, especially with deep fakes and creating false information, and honestly just how stronger it has become. Not even a couple of years ago, we could tell, oh, that's AI, that looks so silly, and it's not correct, to where we're generally believing videos online. We're like, oh, that has to be real. And then when we're checking the comments, like, no, guys, this is AI. Take a look at how like the faces are warped and just things like that. We also touched on body positivity and how it can be harmful for teenagers, even younger children, for ourselves, on how we view ourselves physically and mentally, like, I should look this way, or why do I not look like her? Why do I not look like him? Which also brings up harmful trends like looks maxing or just things like that, which is very damaging to male mental health, which we did talk about for a brief second, because I feel like it's very underlooked, where there are like negative things online where you have to look like this, you should have a sharp jawline, and then that eventually led us into podcasts and how people can present harmful ideas to a general group, and then that becomes bigger and bigger. We talked about, like I said, AI with ChatGPT. We talked about how harmful it can be with a very sad topic about a little boy ending his life because an AI chatbot aided him into helping that, and how the parents were suing the company. That also led us into, the whole concept of a For You page and confirmation bias, and how what you interact with and the things that you like and repost can show you things that you want to see to things that you start to believing are true, which leads into misinformation and just a whole whirlwind of really bad things.
Yeah. So where do you land on the topic? What do you think?
Like I said, things can be what you make of it. If people can come together online to argue, we can come together online to make a solution and to create positive spaces. I think social media should be a little bit more restrictive with the age range of who can access it. And honestly, just what that entails, I see very younger children, like in elementary school, who have social media, who act very adult almost, or just completely skipping over that childhood phase, to where it just makes me think everyone's starting to be the same or having the same mannerisms, the same trends, which also led us to an environmental thing, like how Catrice has mentioned with the environmental impacts and just with the use of microtrends and consumerism.
We're not banning social media here, I think, but what other guards do we need to put around social media, guardrails, or are there any that we need to put around social media? What do you all think?
I feel like the algorithm of a lot of social medias is deeply disruptive. I feel like I know cookies, like actual internet cookies, yeah, right? They like sell your information or just like give it to other apps to like, to market and influence what you see. And I feel like if the algorithm wasn't geared towards just one specific kind of site, depending on the person, instead included multiple perspectives of everything. Like I know me personally, if I get into, or like developing an argument about something, right? Whenever I'm researching how exactly I want to stand on such a topic, I will research the pros and the cons. What is one side saying? What is the other side saying? Instead, with these algorithms, these people are just getting one side, and they're like, man, this is overwhelming evidence. Like, this has got to be true, and it's not. It's not true, or they're just missing like several key factors in their logic that is just. It's like a missing puzzle piece. They're not having all the information, and now they're fighting for a cause that they kind of sort of didn't even believe in, but they didn't know because, they didn't know. And so I feel like the algorithm itself needs to be changed, and I also feel like the people using the algorithm need to be a lot more self-aware. If you're 9, you should not be on Instagram. I feel like lock in.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think about this topic?
I think there's the idolization of like fame when it comes to social media is truly why social media is such a plaguey thing within our society. I mean, you look at like celebrities nowadays. They're always using their platforms, but never for a good cause. They're using it to post themselves. They're using it to make themselves look more attractive, to gain followers. And now you have all these individuals looking up to them, wanting to be them, and craving their fame and attention. And that's why you see exploitation when it comes to like families putting their children in front of the camera to create child influencers to get that fame, to get the monetary value from social media. Social media can be a very, very beneficial thing to society, to spread awareness. I mean, we've never had this much of a globalized platform to, spread awareness about what's happening in Congo, what's happening in Sudan, what's happening in Somalia. But when it comes to what we view of fame and how we, put so much of a hold of it on our society, that's what makes social media so dangerous. And when it comes to like guidelines of like fame and social media, there's not much we can do, but rather through education that you are your own individual person. You should not base your importance on another individual. You should not compare, but rather see your true value, your true worth, and seeing that you don't need a social media platform to emphasize that. All you can do is just make change out in the world and make a difference onto people's lives.
Yeah.
To add on to that, I want to bring it back to what you said about the deepfakes, because I thought that was really interesting, and that immediately stuck out to me. I think that, like you were saying, like how AI is evolving and how we're really struggling to be able to differentiate, is this AI, is this real? I wonder if that's going to step into our law and crime in our life and in our government. How soon is it going to be where one day somebody's in court and they know for a fact they didn't do this, but there's a security cam footage, AI video that you did do it. Or deep fakes, like how, at one point is it like, do I own my own image and likeness? And then the criminal using it could act and say, well, there's no harm, there's no foul, I'm doing this to not hurt you. And I think it could even go back to like even pedophilia. Well, maybe I could do this and I'm not committing a harmful act against someone. And I think that like our laws currently are just not adapting fast enough to AI and how technology is advancing. And I don't have a solution, but I think that this is something that's so serious that like if we don't come up with one soon and fast and restrictions and regulations, we're gonna actively see the consequences of it within our society and against people and victimizing everyone.
Yeah, that was actually very well said. And unfortunately, that is something that has already happened, especially with the entire pedophilia thing. I think it was either in China, someplace in Asia, where a group of men had their own chat room online where they would use AI to create deep pics of their friends' daughters, people that they know, sometimes even their own daughters, of doing really disgusting things. And there really is no regulation. I know some of them were arrested, but it's fast evolving, and I think that's also dangerous in itself to where we are not able to catch up. And then with what you said with the whole influencer thing, I feel like people are trying to become influencers to get themselves out there, and then at the end of the day, it turns into them trying to sell you something. Where, oh, I have this clothing line now. Oh, I just partnered with Sephora and I have this makeup thing, you should buy it. And because you want to be so like me, you're going to give me all your money. And that also ties into with all social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram, to where you can actually buy things from that social media thing, or to redirect you someplace else to just continuously buy and consume.
Yeah, a lot of the influencers are there to make money.
Yes.
Yeah, not necessarily thinking about the repercussions of it. Well, very good. Well, I've got to wrap us up, and I really enjoyed that. But I want to wrap up with a couple of brief questions on the way out. I want to hear from each of you, what was the biggest learning lesson or the biggest thing that you learned from being a part of the forum? And then what are you planning to do after graduation from high school? I think you all are seniors, is that right? Yes, everyone's a senior. So what are you planning to do afterwards? Catrice, why don't you start us off and come around this way.
I know that in my room, you're saying like, what did we like learn?
Yeah, what did you learn? What was the takeaway from the forum?
My takeaway from the forum was a broadened cultural perspective. A lot of the people in my room shared different like cultural backgrounds. I know one person in my room hailed from Asia. Their parents immigrants from Asia. Another person has active family in Morocco, and like she visits every summer. And like these people were just able to contribute such a like cultural adjacent to their experiences. I think they just brought up things that happen in other countries that I had not a single clue about. You know, like things like customs in their family that might influence their decisions or like their legalities personally within their home. And I was like, man, like now I'm kind of being broadened about why people of certain like backgrounds do certain things, and this makes so much more sense now, and I need to dive deeper into this. So after this on Youth Forum, I actually I did some research a little bit. I wanted to just dive a little bit more into these country factors, like why legally things were the way they were, how citizens respond, and that just broadened my view entirely. And I'm glad that I feel a bit more open to like different cultures now. I feel a lot more confident in approaching someone of another culture and being like, hey, I heard about this. Can you explain this to me? And so, yeah, I feel a lot more enlightened.
That's great. And then quickly after graduation?
I plan to attend either Prairie View or North Carolina A&T University, an HBCU for sure. And I want to pursue business marketing with an emphasis in fashion.
All right. Perfect. Yeah.
From this Sun Youth Forum, I definitely learned that just listening to other people's point of view can change yours so much, and I found a true passion just like meeting people and hearing what they have to say, no interruptions, like fully taking what they have to say. Like I even took it home, talked to my mom about some of the sensitive topics that came up, and I was like wow, like hearing these people's point of view, I understand more of why they say this and why I may say the other thing.
And after graduation?
After graduation, I'm planning on going to trade school for cosmetology, and then after that, I want to go to either Nevada State or UNLV for education, so that way I could go, in the end, teach cosmetology.
So from Sun Youth Forum and my room, I just left with an overwhelming sense of hope, because speaking to everybody and hearing all the different perspectives on the same topics, while a lot of them agreed or a lot of them coincided, it was just really amazing to see that at my age. And it gives me so much hope that these are the adults going into like education, going into the government, that these are going to be our leaders one day. And it just made me feel really good to be a part of that and be able to just see that and that passion that young people have for change. And after high school, I'm going to go to UNR, and I'm going to major in psychology with a science undergrad.
Very good. Chris, what do you put?
From the Sun Youth Forum and overall my room as well, I felt really empowered. We're often told like Gen Z is the most progressive generation, but sometimes it's often seen like we're often, naive to the ways of the world right now. We turn a blind eye. So coming into this room, coming to experience, and hear myself be educated by all these individuals, by hear myself learn something more about myself, hear myself be able to grow from these conversations, it truly was like inspiring to me, and it made me feel so empowered to create change in the world in the future. And I know all the individuals in my room will create change within other people's lives, and I'm so inspired by every single one of them that I'm just overall so proud of the conversations that we had that day. For post-grad, what I'm doing post-grad, I definitely want to major in public policy and maybe pursue something working in the nonprofit sector. We don't know where it'll go, but wherever the road takes me.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Ava?
I definitely agree with everybody here. I really left the event feeling relieved, knowing that there are genuine people out there who want to make change and stand up for things. I felt hopeful for the future, knowing that, because there are people who have this viewpoint and this hunger in them to actually change and make good in the world, it just made me feel really hopeful and relieved, and honestly just very happy. I plan on going to UNR like her and majoring in psychology with with a minor in criminal justice.
Great. It's your second year.
Yeah,
so,
returning.
Yeah.
Yes. And I completely agree with all of us, but I feel really proud of all of us, but also everyone that attended Sun Youth Forum. I think it's really beautiful that we were all able to come together and not just be students and nobody really cares what we think, and no, our voices were heard and we were listened to, and I think that that's the best part of this. And I know I'm not going to go into politics, but this has just reassured me that no matter what you do, you should never stop ensuring that your voice is heard, and that you don't just give up on your opinions, and that throughout your life you do hold fast to your beliefs and listen to others and hopefully help your perspective grow on life.
After?
After high school, I plan to go to Boston, and if not, UNLV. And I want to pursue psychology.
Psychology is a degree, okay. Well, listen, I think, Zena, you said something about you were looking at other leaders in the classroom. I am certain I'm looking at 6 leaders here, and I am excited to see what all 6 of you do after graduation and beyond. But thank you for participating in the discussion, and I learned a lot from you all, and I'm always encouraged after hearing from you all about our future. The future is bright when I look at you all and all your faces, so thank you all for being here. And thank you for joining us. Until next year, this is the Sun Youth Forum.